You're listening to an archived Cabral Concept podcast. After listening to this show, check out the most up-to-date podcasts available at stephencabral.com/podcasts or search directly on iTunes. And now, welcome to the Cabral Concept, where board-certified naturopath and integrative health practitioner Dr. Stephen Cabral shares how he was diagnosed at the age of 17 with a life-altering illness and given no hope for recovery. It was only after studying and traveling all over the world did he discover how to combine ancient Ayurvedic healing practices with state-of-the-art naturopathic and functional medicine to fully rebalance the body and re-energize it with life. It's time to discover how to get well, lose weight, and finally feel alive again. And now, here's your host, Dr. Stephen Cabral.
Welcome back, everyone. Great to have you here for our weekend edition of the Cabral HouseCall. This is where we go through our community's questions each and every weekend, answering all things wellness, weight loss, anti-aging, health coaching, career, you name it, mindset, exercise, anything. It's all fair game each and every weekend. So always excited to see what questions come in. They're usually a whole host and a huge range of all different types of ailments, all different types of diseases of the body. People looking for which lab to run, where to start first, what supplement to use. Just different ideas, but that maybe they are not getting right now from their primary care physician, from their specialist, from friends, family. Maybe they're confused about articles they read. So I'm happy to give you just my advice, my experience, a good place to start, what I would do if I were to see you right now or one of my health coaches in my practice, that what we would recommend, essentially, that first step. So that's what I'm excited about doing, again, each and every weekend. One of the nice things, too, is again, I know that there's a lot of people out there struggling right now, and I'll tell you that with functional medicine, that's where I got my big break, is that I was able to run some of the labs that we always talk about, and I began to see, even if it didn't answer everything, I began to see that there were serious imbalances in my body. I was deficient in certain vitamins and minerals. I had heavy metals such as aluminum and mercury. Like, those weren't going to go away unless I did something about it. Found out I had massive candida overgrowth. I found out I had SIBO. I found out I had H. pylori. So on the outside, I was told I had Addison's disease. I had type 2 diabetes. I had fibromyalgia. I had myalgic encephalomyelitis. I had POTS. These are all things that I had, right? Rheumatoid arthritis is an autoimmune. Addison's disease affects the adrenals. Type 2 diabetes affects your insulin desensitization, your ability to get glucose into the cells, right? You can't regulate blood sugar as well. POTS, I couldn't regulate heart rate. Couldn't regulate blood pressure as well. So those are the outward symptoms, but there were deeper things going on inside of me. And the food sensitivities and the gut issues and the hormones, all of that is what, by correcting those, is what I'm trying to say. It eventually allowed me then to get rid of all the disease names I was given. So again, that's why, if you hear me recommend functional medicine labs, it's what I truly believe. When you're eventually tired, when you're sick and tired of being sick and tired, it's time to test, time to stop guessing, and we just have to test. So that's why I'm such a huge proponent. But let's see what we have coming in for questions today. The first one's from Roshana. And Roshana's asking, I'm assuming this is her daughter. Lily is 21 years old, college student. She's always been a healthy child and teenager until last spring. An ulcer-like breakout in her mouth and genital area, which continues with sores in the eyelids. After seeing a rheumatologist, dermatologist, and running all conventional medical tests, they are suspecting an autoimmune disease called Behcet or Behcet. They are treating her with steroid-based medications, but even that doesn't help the flare-outs away. I would love her to be seen by Dr. Cabral. Okay, I just want to make sure that this is for the weekend house calls. On that page, stephencabral.com/ask Cabral. It says that these will be answered by me on the weekends, that none of my team will be reading it, and it takes about 10 weeks. So if you ever need questions about the health practice and being seen by my health coaching team and myself. Remember, I can't see as many people because I'm booked right now for a couple months out, but I read every single lab that people do for my private practice or at equilibriumnutrition.com. And I give all the recommendations for every single person in my practice. So even if you're not working with me directly, you are working with me because I'm reading all of your labs and giving you recommendations. So do feel rest assured that you're getting that. And it's less expensive, obviously, to work with my health coaches that are certified, by the way, by me. I get on the phone with them every single week, twice a week, and do all the recommendations for the whole practice. So do feel like you're getting that. What else can I say is, well, let's just keep it at that. So the pronunciation always escapes me, but it's Behcet. Behcet. And but I don't know the pronunciation. Behcet's something like that. But I do know the disease that we're going to give it, right? So this is basically a vasculitis. It's inflammation of the blood vessels. It's quite rare. There is a specific gene associated with this. The only reason I know this is because I do quite a bit of genetic testing. And this is something, excuse me, I was looking for just last week. So the gene is actually of the HLA variety. It's called B51. Even though, here's the thing though. It's just in your genetics. So it means that your daughter is going to be potentially more predisposed to this disease. But, keep in mind, I'm predisposed to type 2 diabetes and I'm predisposed to rheumatoid arthritis. All of my grandparents and both my parents had rheumatoid arthritis. And a lot of diabetes runs in my family as well. So I know that I'm prone to that. And I did get it, actually. I got those things when my body became imbalanced. But then what did I do? Well, I cleaned up my gut. That was one of the biggest things that I did. So then I got rid of all my seasonal allergies and a lot of the histamine issues I was having. I got rid of the food allergies in my diet. So I got rid of the things that were causing me sensitivities. So what I'm trying to say to you is this, that a lot of people want, how do you cure this disease? But there is no cure for the disease. That's why conventional medicine can't figure it out. There is no cure for rheumatoid arthritis, but there is a cure for the other underlying root cause symptoms that are allowing for the expression of your genes, which in my case is rheumatoid arthritis, right? Or diabetes, or all the other things that I had. And in your daughter's case, it's the word that I can't pronounce, which is Behcet, something like that. I apologize. I didn't even know where it originated. This is actually originated, I believe it's called Old Silk Road disease. It has another name to it. And the reason it's called that is that it originated along the trade route, I believe, along the Silk Road, which was it spread obviously thousands of miles from China to the Middle East to Mediterranean Sea. So, that's something that I know quite a bit about simply because I studied the origins of how Ayurvedic medicine spread throughout the world. And it did that through the Silk Road. And anyway, there were diseases that were passed back and forth. I actually did a podcast on this about thieves oil. If you've never heard about thieves oil, that was a fun podcast. Just go to stephencabral.com/podcast. You can find all previous podcasts and just type in thieves oil, just like it sounds, and you can check out a podcast on that. So what I'm trying to say is this. You can't help your daughter recover from a disease because naturopaths don't cure disease, they don't treat disease, they don't diagnose disease. What they do is they find out all of the things that cause dis-ease in the first place. So my highest recommendation is that your daughter see an integrative health practitioner, a functional medicine doctor, a naturopathic doctor, someone that specializes in looking at the underlying root causes. Now, you could run our Big 5 labs plus the stool test, and that will give you all of her imbalances. Or you can even just start with the gut, where 90% of all autoimmune diseases stem from, and you can run an organic acids test and a stool test and a food sensitivity test in that order if you can't afford all three. So hopefully that gets you started, Roshana. Obviously, I would love to be able to help your daughter because I know what it's like being a sick college student. Not fun. All right, Brittany's up next. Hi there, just listened to podcast number 922 at the moment and logged on to view the body type images. For the women, however, I've noticed that Pitta-Vata isn't pictured. There's one for men, though. I don't know. This is my type, so I was hoping for visual, not that I'm a pro in typing, but in terms of body shape and structure. Would Julianne Hough be considered a Pitta-Vata? Thanks for your thoughts on this. Well, now you put me on the spot and I need to look up. I have to pull up my internet here. So we'll update all of the different body types. There's 10, obviously, of each. And I have to look up now who Julianne Hough. I know who Julianne Hough is, but I don't know the body type. So let's see if I can find a photo of her. And of course, most celebrities are going to be thinner than their natural body type. But as long as you can kind of find someone in a bathing suit, you can see what their natural body type is. All right, so let's see if I can find an up-close photo. Okay, just found one of her, and it says it is her. It looks like her. The other photos look like her. Google's going to have a field day now with me looking up photos. Yes, she is a Pitta-Vata, so good work. You were able to call that body type. Great job. And maybe we'll add her photo for a Pitta-Vata if we do not have it on show number 922. So for anybody listening, check out show, I believe it's 907, 914, and 922 on figuring out the Ayurvedic body types. The Ayurvedic shows start with episode 900, And we did a bunch of shows each and every week. 900, 907, 914, and 922, I believe. So check those out. Thanks, Brittany, for writing in. And I believe I only have one image to go on. I usually like to look at multiple images, but I can tell you for sure more of the Pitta-based body type and does trend more towards the Vata with the longer, thinner neck. Definitely thinner, but certainly, again, thinner than her natural body type. She'll typically have a little bit more weight. Again, not that that's a bad thing at all, and a little bit more muscle, but she keeps herself leaner than her natural body type would trend towards. Okay. And Steve's up next. Hello. I've been researching clean and safe dinnerware options lately, as I would really like to make the switch to a cleaner option, but I found many endorsements for stainless steel, but I've also found warnings against chromium and nickel leaching. Can you speak into whether stainless steel is a safe option? Thanks, Steve. So yeah, stainless steel is not a bad option. It really isn't. And there can be some leaching for sure of chromium and nickel, but it's not something I see a lot of on a hair tissue mineral analysis. To be honest with you, it's just not. I would feel pretty safe with stainless steel. They even have aluminum cores, and the aluminum cores they put in on these is to allow for a lighter metal, but also it heats up faster. Now, the interesting thing about aluminum core is that it's not going to affect the outer core, which would be the stainless steel. So you can kind of get the benefit of the aluminum with the fast heating and the lightness with the stainless steel of not getting the aluminum. And for those of you who don't know about how toxic aluminum is, I do hope that you go back and listen to previous Cabral concepts, because we have to get away from using the aluminum foil, all the aluminum cans, the aluminum spatulas, the aluminum pans, the Teflon, all of that. So you've seen my recommendations before. It's for glassware. It's for ceramic. It is for bamboo spatulas, stainless steel, cast iron. So yeah, there's going to be pros and cons to each one of them. And again, like cast iron, well, what if you have too much iron? Of course, you could have iron overload. But again, pros and cons. Glass could break easier. Ceramic is great, but sometimes not the best cooking vessel. So I'm a huge advocate of all of the ones that I named, and some better than others based on your particular needs. So I'm okay with that. Steve, good question. And, I know that we just don't live in a perfect world, right? But that's a pretty good option. Oh, just one more thing, Steve, is I still wouldn't recommend a metal spatula scraping pans. I'm a bigger advocate of a ceramic-based spatula or a bamboo spatula, which is the type that I use. All right, Brianna's up next. Hello, I had a question in regards to the Candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol. I know it helps with chronic yeast infections, yeast, but does it also help with urinary tract infections such as E. coli? Great question, Brianna. And yes, it does. It helps with the E. coli, especially when you add the citricidal drops. So we have the citricidal drops available. They're by Nutribiotic, and they're available on Equilibrium Nutrition. And we give those away at a super low price. That's because we want people to use them, and a bottle will last you like years, right? It'll expire before you ever use a whole bottle of that. So we use that. Again, you should work with your health practitioner with this, but we use it at 3 drops twice a day for week 1, 4 drops twice a day, week 2, and then 5 drops twice a day, week 3. We use that with our Candida and bacterial overgrowth protocol. It helps phenomenally for that. And remember, we have then and so why does it help with urinary tract infections? Well, urinary tract infections are oftentimes caused by the same bacteria that you have in your gut. So if you have E. coli overgrowth, which you're right, and you can test for that, by the way, on a stool test, you'll be more prone to urinary tract infections, especially with leaky gut. So you can run the organic acids test, you can run the stool test, but you could also just go right into the Candida bacterial overgrowth protocol plus citricidal drops for the first 3 weeks, and then you're done with those. It works phenomenally well. And then we have a great healthy urinary tract protocol to use if you ever feel a UTI coming on. All right, Brianna, that is in regards to that. You can also ask additional follow-ups at cabralsupportgroup.com, which is where you can get questions answered pretty much on a daily basis. Rochelle's up next. Hi, I started the heavy metal detox this past Saturday, and I know it's a 6-week protocol. I'm unsure if the products I purchased from Equilibrium will last 6 weeks. With the amount Dr. Ball recommends I take, I should purchase another set of supplements for the heavy metal detox. And also, some people take 6 months to detox heavy metals. Should I be doing this longer than 6 weeks? I want to ensure the maximum benefits for my efforts. I just had my breast implants removed almost 8 weeks ago, and I'm looking to completely cleanse my body as they really did a number to my hormones and health. Thank you. Rochelle, thank you for asking. Great question. My heavy metal detox, I put together, I don't even think it's any Equilibrium Nutrition products, but it's all the best products in the world. And again, I'm never going to say that Equilibrium Nutrition has every product that you need. I would never say that. So we don't make our chlorella as of right now. And I don't even know if we have our own ascorbic acid. I don't think that we do. So what I do though is I give you the best of the best. It's based on the research. And all you have to do is tune back to previous podcasts. So go to stephencabral.com/podcasts. Type in heavy metal. And what you will find is a podcast that I did. I'm going to see if I can find it right now. So I'm going to put myself to the test. If I were someone going to stephencabral.com and I would go to the podcast page. So I'm going to do this in real time if we can find this together. And I'm going to count it. All right. So I'm at the podcast at 15 minutes and 35 seconds. I see it ticking away. So I scroll down the page and I type in heavy metal. And let's see if it pops up or how many it populates. All right. So it looks like it is populating our podcasts where we've done or we offer the heavy metal on the page. Okay. So let's type in heavy metal detox. And let's see what we come up with. Still come up with a bunch of pages. So let's type in heavy metal protocol. All right, we get less pages. Okay, and I'm typing in protocols, and that shows a bunch of pages. Let me type in heavy metal toxicity for another keyword. Heavy metal toxicity, and there it is. So heavy metal toxicity and the foods that detox them. Episode 325. So just go to stephencabral.com/325. Took about 60 seconds and I was able to find it. And I know that, playing around with the search words, you'll be able to find all these shows. You really will. And obviously I'm biased, but I would love you to go back and start to listen to multiple shows per day, only because you will give yourself, like this is the truth, a true functional medicine education. I really believe that. You're going to learn all this. And it doesn't matter that it would take maybe months or you're listening to the show for a year. You're going to get that education that you could take with you then for the rest of your life. So episode 325, I give you the research. Over 87% of all those heavy metals will be gone from your body in just the 6-week protocol that I give you, which is all based on studies and research and science. But remember, after that, because heavy metals is different from having breast implants. Breast implants is a very different toxicity. And for that, I can't recommend enough doing the 21-day Dr. Cabral detox and then doing the heavy metal detox. Now, if you did the heavy metal detox first and then did the 21-day Dr. Cabral detox, that's okay too. But you can also do them simultaneously. I would at least give your body a week head start with the Dr. Cabral detox. What that does is that it opens up the liver pathways. And opening up the liver pathways, it's what's going to enable you to better remove these toxins from your body. It's going to clean that blood at a faster rate because that is exactly what the liver does. All right, so great question, and that is where we're on now. Let's go on. Katie's up next. Katie's asking, just started my CBO protocol. That stands for Candida Bacterial Overgrowth. Can I have herbal teas and coffee with almond milk? Also, can you send me some links for the CBO recipes? I'm part of the Detox Facebook, but struggling to find some information for yummy CBO approved recipes that aren't just a pile of veggies. So excited for this journey. Thank you. All right, Katie, great question. Remember, all of these questions, though, you would have already finished your CBO protocol by the time I get to it. And it's not that I don't want to answer them faster. I do. I answer somewhere about 20 questions per weekend, but that's what we're able to do, right? So I think we've answered close to 3,000 questions on the house calls. It just takes a bit. So ask your question right inside the Facebook group. That's at cabralsupportgroup.com, and we'll get those for you. Remember, we have over 100 recipes there that are all detox and CBO approved. Just go to the search bar on the left-hand column and type in recipe, and you will find over 100 delicious recipes that aren't just veggie-based. They all have protein, they all have healthy fat, and of course, they're going to have veggies in there, but they have other starches too. So check those out. And can you have herbal teas? Yes. Chamomile, you can have ginger, you can have hibiscus. All of those are totally fine. Can you have almond milk? Yes, you can have almond milk. So enjoy the CBO protocol. Can honestly, it's not going to you're not going to have to give up everything in your life food-wise. You're not. We give you about 2 dozen fruit that you can have. We give you about 3 dozen vegetables. You can have almost any protein in the world. I give you all of this. Remember, it's not a candida diet. This is very specifically formulated for bacterial overgrowth, fungal overgrowth, higher histamine foods. Like, we really incorporate so much in there without making you feel like you're deprived. And then after 3 weeks, you start to add more of these foods back in, the starches. And then we start to add more of even grains. And then we start to introduce nuts. So we're allowing you to figure out which foods are most reactive for you. That's why it is literally the best protocol out there, besides all the herbals you're taking along with it. All right. Let's get in another question. One more question. Anonymous. Hi, Doc. Thank you for your podcast and all you do. You're changing lives. Do the world a favor and explain why the keto diet and the carnivore diet are not suitable for long-term diets. I've had so many people debate me on how great they feel and how it's healed their medical ailments. I've even started to doubt my own belief of what based all diets should be, mostly veggies and moderate fat protein. I'm constantly doing research to find the best diet for my family and keep seeing more anecdotes and stories from people that have tremendous success with keto and carnivore from all around health. I think the world needs clarification on this, and I know you are not biased towards any specific diet, so your perception is greatly needed in the health community at the moment to clear things up for normal folks who want the best for people. Could you explain in depth scientifically why we should avoid these diets except for unique medical cases? Maybe this deserves its own podcast. Anonymous, it absolutely does, and I have explained it. So you wrote this in on October 31st. So I hope that you've enjoyed some of the shows and interviews I've done about why the keto diet is not a longer-term diet. I've really gone on in depth on this now. I'll give you the main points and that you can look them up, and I'll do continued shows. I know that I will, because I know that this is such a hot topic, right? So many people are talking about, the carnivore and keto-based diet. So let me see if I can just find even one show for you right now. So 1026, the only proven anti-cancer diet, is one. It's so many shows that I've done, honestly. And I've also done them on other interviews that I've been talking about each and every Friday, because people always ask me about that. I did another one with Ben Pakulski. I did a show in this. All right. I'll do an end-all, be-all show. I will do that. Okay. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do an end-all, be-all show on this. So let me put it in my notes. Keto, carnivore, oh my, something like that. I'm going to call it something fun, because I like to have fun with this. But here's the truth. Let me give you this in just a quick nutshell. These diets are medical-based diets, and I've been talking about this for a while. So they can be used for type 2 diabetes, although I would hope not for the long term. They can be used for certain types of cancer, tumor space growth. But what we've done is we've really taken short-term research, and we've taken anecdotal research, and we've taken some medical-based research, and then try to take that and extrapolate the data and then bring it across the whole population. People are feeling well because it's an elimination diet, right? So if someone gets bloated and gas and lose stool when they eat dairy, and they stop eating dairy, well, they no longer have those symptoms. Well, that's a good thing, because a lot of people can't handle dairy, so that makes sense. And then some people eat avocados, and they are sensitive to avocados, so they don't need avocados. Okay, all of that makes sense. But if you cut out an entire macro, namely carbohydrates, we start to say, well, something's wrong here, because you can't be allergic to an entire macro group. So if you're allergic, you don't feel well to eating fruit or vegetables, we're talking about a serious gut issue. We're talking about H. pylori, we're talking about potentially SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth, we're talking about candida overgrowth, we're be talking about parasites, and for sure, we're talking about a microbiome imbalance in terms of good to bad, let's call it flora, bacteria, and there's some type of intestinal permeability. So what you did, a carnivore diet and a keto diet, is the same thing as taking a statin for cholesterol. It's the same thing as taking a diuretic or beta blocker for high cholesterol. It's the same thing as taking biologic-based drugs for autoimmunity. I could go on and on. It's a pharmaceutical-based approach. You're masking symptoms. If you feel better by cutting out the only foods that we know that promote longevity and promote anti-cancer and balancing cholesterol, balancing blood sugar, balancing inflammation, you cut those out and you feel better, I understand. I sympathize with you. I get it. But that is not a long-term approach for overall health and longevity. Remember, health is not the absence of disease. I want to repeat that. If your blood work comes back fine and you no longer have symptoms, That does not mean you are healthy. It means you are disease-free. Let us still run subclinical labs, hormone testing, gut testing, stool testing, etc. Just because you're starving out the yeast, the bacteria, etc., does not mean that they will not come back with a vengeance when you eat carbohydrates again. Because I can guarantee you this, there is no way you are going to eat only meat for the rest of your life. That's not happening. And if you do, you won't see the effects tomorrow. Probably feel better tomorrow. Again, elimination diet. But you will feel those effects in the future, that's for sure. Now, will a few people in the population, small percentages, be able to get away with a diet more like that? Of course, because there are percentages in populations that can get away with anything, but can't get away with other things. So remember, all of this is science-based. We are giving this from a science-based perspective. And this is a conventional medicine, allopathic way of looking at a diet. And that's completely eliminating the things that cause you symptoms. Remember, symptoms are not a bad thing. Symptoms show us what our imbalances are. Symptoms show us what we need to correct. All right, we're going to keep it at that. I'll get deep into the science. I'll get deep into why it makes no sense from a genetic standpoint, from a digestive standpoint, and from a long-term health standpoint. But for now, keep up the good fight. I appreciate it. Thanks so much, everyone, for tuning in, and we'll answer more questions tomorrow on another Cabral House Call. Before you go, I wanted to share a personal story with you. The real reason I began to get well finally is because I figured out what was wrong with me. And that might seem pretty obvious, but I went from doctor to doctor for over 2 years before discovering at-home functional medicine lab testing. These are the labs that enabled me to finally figure out what was wrong with my hormones, blood sugar, electrolytes, and gut health. And once I knew what was wrong, I could then follow a proven plan in order to rebalance my body from the inside out. This is why I believe so strongly in functional medicine lab testing and why I've made it my mission to share these labs with the world. Now at equa.life, you can order an at-home lab test or lab bundle for you and your family and be able to complete it within the week. Plus, the EquaLife difference is that you're not left to try to read and figure out these labs on your own. We explain what your lab numbers mean, what they mean in the much bigger picture, and then how to go about rebalancing your body in order to heal. To see our full selection of lab tests, or to set up a free lab selection call to find out what labs may be best for you, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. And do remember, we ship these all over the world. To find out more and to set up your free lab selection call, simply head on over to equa.life/labs. That's EQUI.LIFE/labs.